responsible for when we're on the fire line.
There's no way that CAL FIRE or the Forest Service is going to be able to stop or control or help every single person in the state. If you're not getting to those people, don't they have the right to protect themselves and their homes and their families and their businesses, or to hire somebody to come in under a contract that's already helped them before and prepped it and understands the lay of the land? It comes down to that one little thing, checking in. They want to know we're there. That's where it needs to be fixed.
When you have companies coming from out of state, and even companies in state, they're here for one reason and one reason only. They're here to make money. They're here to make a profit. And they're potentially getting mixed up in a very, very, very dangerous job. And I'll tell you what, if I could eliminate it in the state of California, that would be my goal.
Private firefighters.
Yes.
Agencies don't own the law. They don't own it. I just think we all got to talk about it a little bit better and be able to play in the sandbox with everybody. We better figure out how to make it all work between us, CAL FIRE, feds, and everyone working together when we're living here. If it's ever going to be something that we get in front of.
The Willow product is designed to fit both your regular underwear. So unlike other
Really, you guys.
the same
Hold on.
sounding
How has your company grown?
We've doubled in size every year.
Oh, I
I've
can
always
take my
said
meds.
you can make a career and a life out of fighting fire and doing forest management and helping your citizens in the wild urban interface where you live, because there is a need and there is a huge call for it. I think CAL FIRE should be embracing private fire. I think the growth will continue to increase as it should, and I think that there should be a space for folks that are trained, educated, and qualified.
The numbers speak for themselves. This was a brutal year. There is no better term for it. There were more acres burned across the state of California than at any other point in our history. And it was a year that we absolutely are looking forward to being over with. Our firefighters, just like all other firefighters across the state, were taxed this year and pushed to our limits.
And what would you say to private firefighters who are saying we want to help?
There's many ways that folks can help. It's not just boots on the ground, but absolutely, if you want to be a firefighter, do what it takes to be a firefighter with the state of California or with any other local agency that has that responsibility.
What is the challenge of working with private firefighting firms that come into fires that are privately contracted? How, for you, is this a challenge for your job?
The biggest issue here is knowing that they're there. You see them as no different than any other civilian resource. There is an expectation that they will follow direction when it is provided by the incident, and of course, there is an expectation that they will certainly check in with us and let us know that they are there.
So technically speaking, when private firefighters are on fire, you see them no differently as any other person, any other totally independent civilian with no relation to the fire. They are just regular people.
As far as our expectations that they will follow direction, absolutely. They're not considered firefighters by the state of California, and so we have to treat them just as we would any other civilian entity that chose not to evacuate.
For homeowners, what would be your message to them when they're considering hiring private firefighters to come and sit on their property and defend against an active fire?
It's a resource that's available to homeowners, and it's one that legally they're allowed to hire. It becomes an issue when the department or the incident commanders decide that an area needs to be evacuated and civilians choose not to evacuate. That's where the complication comes in. Whether they're on a piece of firefighting equipment that is privately owned, or they are just a civilian with a garden hose, that presents safety concerns. We cannot fight fire until we've ensured that every single life has been protected to the best of our abilities. And we do that every single fire, and we'll continue to do that every single fire, which is why the importance of early evacuation is so critical to our success. If the community chooses to not evacuate, that forces our hand away from taking direct action on the fire toward protecting lives and then property.
Amongst all that has happened this year, I can always rely on a simple road trip to break the monotony of 2020. For my little road trip, I'll be taking an overnight bag with a gift from my brother and a camera backstock with a couple of my favorite film stocks. most of 2020 has been spent in isolation, something about a long drive is one of my favorite ways to clear my head. I've always found that the long stretches of road accompanied with good music are the perfect way to remedy cabin fever. On this road trip, I headed down to San Diego to visit my little brother and my nephew Herman. First stop upon arriving into San Diego is always coffee. A hot cup of coffee is my ideal way to spend a chill Saturday morning to relax and catch up with my brother. Whenever I visit my brother, we never really plan anything. Our favorite thing to do was wander the city and take a couple of photos. This love of photography is something my brother and I inherited from both of our parents. My dad always had a camera in his hand and my mom loved to shoot black and white film. For us,
In 2020, one singularity dominated the news. There was one story that filled almost every front page of every paper on every day. If I asked you what was the biggest story from 2019, 2018, or 17, or almost any other year was, there'd be some debate. But not in 2020. I don't even have to tell you what I'm talking about. You already know. But just because the front pages were clogged up, that's not to say page 2, 3, or 4 were. While we may have stood still, the world kept spinning and news kept happening. Some of it was heavy, some was sad, some was bizarre, and some momentous. Well, what binds these stories together is that you likely didn't hear them. By no fault of your own, it was difficult to follow what was happening in the world because the only thing you could hear was that one singular story. The year's not over yet, though, at least as I'm saying this, and so there's still a chance to catch up on the news you missed in 2020 from every country in the world. Here's how this will work. We order the countries by population from largest to smallest according to 2019's statistics. There are 195 of them, 193 countries recognized by the United Nations, plus 2 UN observer states, Palestine and the Vatican City. This list was chosen because it is the most definitive list. It's the list most commonly used as a list of all countries, so some of its entries might include nations that you or your government do not consider as countries, or omit ones that you or your government do recognize. At the end of the day, we had to pick a list, and if any is the list of countries, it's this one. Oh, and one more rule. The C word, as in the word that describes that one singular story of 2020, you're not going to hear it once. We start in China, the most populated country in the world, which continues to expand its global presence, and in this case, its space presence too. It became the second country in the world to plant a national flag on the moon 50 years after the United States did. China is trying to catch up with American and Russian planetary endeavors, and in recent years has poured millions into its military-run space program with the hopes of sending humans to the moon. Another country with a burgeoning space program is India, where Amazon recently completed its largest office building in the world. The 1.8 million square foot behemoth was erected in Hyderabad, a city of 10 million that's grown into a sizable technology and financial hub. India, as the world's second most populous country, is the fastest growing internet market, and Amazon joins other major tech multinationals which have opened offices there, though none with a campus that spans 65 football fields. A United States man that was facing sentencing for 2 vehicle theft charges might be looking at a lot more time now that he was caught faking his death. His attorney submitted a fraudulent death certificate, and it might have passed had there not been typos, like the misspelling of registry. Stay in school, kids. In Indonesia, a stimulus bill aimed at restarting Southeast Asia's largest economy was met with months of protests because citizens said it slashed workers' rights and environmental regulations. But President Joko Widodo signed the bill into law anyway, saying it will bring over 1 million jobs to the struggling economy, which until this year had been on an upward trajectory. Opponents, though, argue it weakens rules that already don't do enough to protect the country's natural resources and workers. Rice is a serious business in Southern Asia, and it's a profitable one, too. That's why Pakistan is vehemently fighting India over the long grain, basmati to be specific. This year, India applied to the European Union for a designation that recognizes basmati rice as an exclusive export of the country, even though 1/3 of EU imports of the products come from Pakistan. In recent years, Pakistan's basmati rice exports to the EU have doubled, while India's are shrinking, which makes the designation, if granted, potentially more devastating and further increases tensions between these two neighbors. Between rainforest fires and a negligent president, the news stripping out of Brazil has been heavy. But a new discovery about the mating habits of the Thorobotafora frog lightened the feed. Frogs are either typically monogamous or not, meaning they get around. This species, however, prefers harem style, one male to 2 or more specific females, which is much more common in mammals throughout the animal kingdom, but not seen before in amphibians. Dubbed group fidelity, finding this behavior in another set of 4-legged animals checks another box in the evolutionary list. One particular virus has dominated the news cycle this year. In Nigeria, they're dealing with an entirely different one, too, the yellow fever. The disease, which is spread by mosquitoes, had basically been eradicated for 20 years until 2017, when it crept back into the country because of climate change and lower vaccination rates. Now, it's spiking. In the latter half of 2020, 75 people have already died, and health officials worry that number will increase as people are more hesitant to get vaccinated. India is being beat in another metric as well, and it's an important one. Bangladesh most likely surpassed India in gross domestic product this year, according to International Monetary Fund estimates. Why does that matter? Well, India is the world's 6th largest economy, and its 10% GDP contraction is a concerning indicator for the world economy. Thanks to increased agricultural production and a focus on developing its low-wage labor workforce, Bangladesh, on the other hand, was able to expand its GDP by 4% this year. Another country that's known to be slightly competitive is Russia, and that's a problem since they were banned from the biggest global sporting competition of 2020 because of doping. That would be the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. Of course, the event was postponed until 2021 anyway, but new investigations revealed that Russia was planning to cyber-attack the Games, which is something they've done before when they attempted to wreak havoc on the Winter Olympics in South Korea by dismantling ticketing and Wi-Fi for the opening ceremony, as well as targeting individual broadcasters, sponsors, and athletes. Before flights were ground to a halt in the spring, World Health Insurance was taking advantage of Mexico's inexpensive pharmaceutical prices and actually flying public employees from the United States to south of the border so they could buy drugs at a fraction of American prices. They also got the benefit of those in-flight snack peanuts. It's already saved the company $250,000, and though other states are eyeing the move, they may limit it once flights get back to normal levels, meaning Mexico is bound to see a greater boost to its already burgeoning pharmaceutical tourism industry. Fugaku is not just fun to say, it's also the name of the world's speediest computer, which was built this year in Japan. The room-sized computer took first place in a speed ranking competition between supercomputers, carrying out 2.8 times more calculations than the second-place IBM machine built in the United States. This is notable for the Japanese, who have remained less competitive in the supercomputer realm, often following the leads of the US and China. The systems are used for complex military and scientific tasks, including breaking down and monitoring climate change, and, of course, winning competitions. Africa is getting its own Great Wall. The ambitious reforestation project is supposed to stretch 4,350 miles, or 7,000 kilometers from Djibouti to Senegal, with an aimed completion date of 2030. Ethiopia is on track to meet its goal, having already planted 5.5 billion seedlings. But its neighbors are slow to start, and the project is only 4% complete at the halfway mark, mostly due to financial struggles. It turns out it takes a lot of green to make a green wall, and so it's proving difficult for some of the world's poorest countries to take this project to completion. Money problems are also the reason that the Philippines' largest news network cited when it shuttered dozens of its regional stations around the country, but the audience isn't buying this excuse. Instead, they're wondering if it has more to do with President Rodrigo Duterte's criticism of the network's coverage 95% in the